They just sat themselves down.
Sorry, we haven't given instructions.
Yeah, but anyway, like, keep the door open as well, because some people are going to be coming in and out, and it's fine. Yeah, wow, thanks for coming back as well. So we've been touring with this play for nearly 1 month now, and we more or less always have a post-play, post-show discussion, and we found out that, you know, a lot of, for many audiences, it's quite interesting to actually speak to the performers and the creative team, and so, you know, this is another opportunity to do that. And I'm going to just introduce who we are and our name. So some of you know me. I'm Emilia Deglia. I'm the director and writer. This is Lola May, one of the internet. So Barbara is like one of those Oriental things. So this is Barbara Diana. She is composer, music director, and one of the vocalists. Jenny Jagob, one of the internet chimeras again. Greg Snowden, Jamie. And last but not least, Jess. Jos Kusanya. Sorry, we had to be the so yeah, I don't know if you want to ask a question about the play or about what it is like for the performers. Just like feel free, or if you don't want to ask a question, we can just start.
Buy us a drink.
Yes?
How long did it take you to learn the scripts?
Well, we did this project last year as well, and I did a little bit on it the year before as well. So that was quite long and difficult. But when we actually started this rehearsals, we only had 2 weeks. So kind of by the end of the first week, we knew we needed to have it all in. But because we'd already done it once before, there were only a few minor changes. It's quite reasonably simple to get it back into your mind, because it's in there already. You've just got to re-find it.
Yeah. Before last year, when we done it, I would do a lot of lines. I mean, the dialogue was really heavy. So what I'd do is just before I go to bed, I'd do the lines and sleep. And wake up and I'll know at least half of them. And just keep doing that. And when you mix the actions with the words, it becomes pictures in your mind and it's much clearer. So yeah, that's what it is.
We haven't found anything. Excuse me. It's very hard for us to learn. We have notes to learn.
I was just going to ask about like the development of the piece, if it was something that was written or if you guys had an input as performers as well.
So the way the piece was born, so it's based on a real incident, the old stabbing situation with the hipster and the roadman from Acme actually happened. And then I went out and interviewed people, and then from there the old spoken word is completely written and they had to learn down to the final bit because otherwise it just screws up the verse. And the lyrics are verbatim from internet threads, from social media threads. So it wasn't improvised. The music was born from workshops with members of All Dies. So yeah, that's
some of it. Most of the Facebook, most of the social media kind of like statuses, which we speak, that's why we sing, I actually composed. They actually composed. A lot of the choral work, we devised certain things. We just, they kind of like came out through working, and certainly the music, the rhythmic music, and the vocal accompaniment. It was something that sort of like grew quite organically during the rehearsal period, and with a lot of input from everybody.
So as part of the process, you said you used internet threads verbatim. Was things like the Ask FM threads, were they real or were they
Yes, everything, all the lyrics, and yeah, because of the two cultures of reference, there were different social media as well. Because yeah, even though in 2014 people of the age of Tyree still used Facebook more than they do now, they were more on things like Ask FM or not on Tumblr, while the other guy had more of a presence on that one, and all the threads are verbatim.
What's the inspiration for the set design?
So the set is developed according to the previous tour and then redeveloped from there. So it's, I guess, it's a conceptual version of a town, blocks. But then also that grew organically because we didn't know that there was going to be music from the set initially, and then that was an idea that came.
Yeah, once we decided that it would be nice to actually have the rhythmic accompaniment, we got inspiration for cajones, which are these instruments they use in flamenco, and you sit on it. So these ones are basically expanded. It's like a huge cajones. But it was also trying to find something that we could use as set and as instrument. So for example, the string is like a washed up bass, and those develops the moment we decided we needed something of the kind. And of course the blocks work beautifully as well as a piece of the set. So that was good.
Did you does people know that actually they're happy to about the story that you're telling?
Sorry?
That the story that you're telling today happened in your life?
Yes.
And have you contacted those people
Yes,
that happened to
yes.
you? What is there?
Not the young guy, because it was impossible to trace him. All I know was that he was under 18. That's why his name wasn't anywhere.
Of course, yeah.
But we did invite the people from the regional pub, the Larry replied. But we did a lot of research there. That brought
We
them
went
lots
to
of
the
money. Yes, but what I did was interviewing long-time residents and new residents in the borough of Hackney, and this is, gave me a really good idea of the people behind, that situation, because it became the case in point for gentrification and regeneration. So there were lots of people that were involved in it, much beyond the actual event.
I was lucky enough to see this last year, and I've seen it again this year, and I've noticed that there's been just like some slightly small differences to some stuff, like with the crowd, and I remember seeing some blood, which is quite vivid as well. What was the reason for those differences, and how are you looking to further improve what you're doing now to kind of get this important message out to people about social media and how it kind of influences people?
It was supposed to be a cast talk. No, it's interesting actually. That's one thing that I really like talking about, because it never kind of comes through to the audience. What main reasons for taking away the crowd part of the story. So last year we had 6 extra actors. It's funding. You just can't tour with that amount of actors.
Sure.
And it's quite good that people know how much it costs to put something that is like seemingly so small. The blood and other little changes that you see, I think actually there's got to be more focus on the fact that it's a spoken word, and I think it actually does make the word prominent more than the old visual that we had last year.
Yes. Let's watch it on, please. Let's watch it.
No, let's not put that. So someone else was asking something here first.
No, I suppose it's another question for you. But this thing about the separate entrances, did that arise out of all these questions?
That's one of the unfortunate realities, like the story of the old guy who gassed himself. That's also true. But one of the things with regeneration is that developer, by law, have to create a certain number of flats for social housing, and so they sometimes create the block in a way that they got separate entrances, and the luxury flats also have different facilities, and they don't really meet each other. So that's unfortunately quite true, yeah.
It's disgusting, not true.
It's disgusting, but true, yeah. Yes.
Seeing as there's so much emphasis on social media, and that's something that's growing within the young generation, is this touring around in schools as well?
Well, we're touring universities and colleges, and yeah, I mean, there's been some interest. Maybe he's going to tour again, and that's definitely one of the targets. But that's something that I'm not the producer. The producer is not here tonight. But it'd be interesting to see how it goes down with the language.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if it does, then you have to tone down the language in that case.
But then they wouldn't like it. I mean, you know, yeah, but yeah, it's about...
I think there's some place at the moment that I saw school term. They did have language like that. So, if there's anyone here that wants to take into schools, you know, feel free.
So how did you guys feel about the piece? Like, you felt quite strongly that when you first got the script. How did you come about being a part of it?
We auditioned separately to the guys, the singers, and I think we read the full script. It's been over a year now, but I just remember it really speaking to me. I thought this has a strong message, and I like being part of projects that look at real life and how life is today. And I think this is absolutely spot on, perfect. I think we should see more of this in theatres, like stuff that's relevant to us. Not dissing old folk, but just current things.
Because the part of Jamie is quite a challenging part. It's all in verse, and it's quite a long thought process and things like that. So initially, that was my real interest in it. It was when I got the script in, it was a really interesting challenge. But then I think going beyond that and actually looking into researching it and looking at the issues that are behind it and things like, I mean, I think the thing that really got me was, so after the tweet, there was a big social media storm, and there were people picketing outside the bar, stopping people going into the bar. And it just struck me that, you know, there's people stopping people going into the bar, but who's campaigning and protesting against getting stabbed? You know, it's like people are trying to protect their societies and protect that kind of thing. And it's not always a positive thing. And there is thousands of issues around it and many different ways of looking at the same argument. But I think that the more and more we've researched and developed into it, and the more work we did on the piece, the more really we realised, or the more I realised how socially relevant it is and how important it is, and that it's relevant and current as well. I've always said.
Yeah, for me, when I got into the audition, I was like, wow, what's a hipster? I was like, yeah, what's that? And but what really stood out for me was the message, and I love pieces that you get the audience thinking, or talking, or just makes us, shifting your mind to really ask questions. So that's what really drew me to the piece, and I could really, relate with Tyrese's character. Growing up on an estate myself in Kidbrooke, and really understanding, what it's like, because, seeing it from that point of view, and now, the ferry at Kidbrooke has been knocked down and it's all been changed and stuff, and they paid a lot of people to come out of the area. But I've never been in a position where, he had that entrance there and I had that entrance there. And it was really interesting for me to step into that world, to really understand how it's like, from my point of view, the characters, and from also Jamie's point of view. And it made me realise that, if both of the characters can come together, or the community come together, they can really make something happen. Because, if they didn't get stuck in the lift, they wouldn't really have spoken. So it just made me think that, wow, this is amazing. If we can just get stuck together and get stuck in lifts more often.
And also drink and have spliffs.
The hidden message is that drink and drugs actually
So from your response, do you think this piece does suffice for what actually goes on in this generation in terms of segregation between immigrants? Is there anything that, as the cast member, you believe that you can bring to this show to bring more awareness to segregation?
just be good to get people to see it.
Yeah.
That's all. You know,
Tweet.
because it is a valuable message, and yeah, what we're doing is a tiny little drop in the ocean of a massive issue. But the more people who see it, then the more people can go away and, you know, it can change people's minds. It can make people stop and not judge people straight away for who they are, and actually take time to talk to people.
You know, a lot of people I know who come see it leave the theatre and then they go to the pub and they're talking about it for 2 hours, and that's what theatre's supposed to do. That's why we're doing it, to make people think, to make get the cogs going. And so if it's just making people have a conversation about it and making people change their mind in even the slightest way, then we're doing our jobs.
I think it's breaking the fear. I think the play breaks the fear of actually facing that it's actually happening. Let's talk about it. Because most people do think about it, but let's get it's fear, isn't it? Just the
am I talking about stereotypes? Am I being stereotypical about these people and these people? And, just converse.
So the question is like, how many people are actually aware of the fact that in these new developments there are two separate entrances? And it's
before we started, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it is about finding ways.
That's happening in Lucian right now. The big built these beautiful flats and stuff, and you've got the entrance, and the front entrance is for the people that are buying flats, which is facing the road, and the back entrance is for obviously the council. And it's crazy that they put them at the back and at the front, so this is like modern day.
But it's fine if there are two entrances, as long as everybody can use them.
Yeah.
We're not objecting.
Excellent. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, yesterday we had a campaigner from Focus in 15 months. It was quite interesting also to raise that element of who's the real enemy, because they campaign a lot for housing in London, but she rightly said, we go to the council, we don't go to the guys that rent the place. But unfortunately, what happens with stories like this, and there's a few, it's like misdirect hatred, which perhaps the hope is that actually a play like this helps people communicate and find out that there's common ground there. And especially because at the end of the day we're talking about two migrants group. Only one had been before in London, but the other one, is British. So there's also that sort of situation of movement.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, obviously I like the fact that it's like two groups, I've got two different kind of ideologies and use kind of show like really clearly. What I was going to ask is, did you find it kind of, you have to kind of like skate around it to make sure it wasn't too kind of controversial, just to make it kind of, try and push the boundaries as much as possible, get people to think a different way, or...
I think that's a question for who watches it. I've tried to just represent it as it is, but I mean, from my position, and I guess loads of other people, I could see both points of view in the incident. Because it's not nice being stabbed, let's be honest. It's also not nice when you're running something and something like that happens in your place. And they both perhaps being a bit impulsive in whatever circumstances they ended up, like with the tweet, or even though the guy obviously hadn't stabbed someone else, it was quite mouthy. So I can't say if it's controversial or not. It's what people are.
Yeah, it's real life, I think, and I think when you get a piece of theatre that is, it's real life. Some people try to hide away, but they say that this is how it is. This is what's going on, and we need to confront it. And it's a sense of asking, in a sense, why, because you got this thing that we're all holding on to, but it's not ours to hold on to. Do you know what I mean? And we're saying this is our thing, this is our thing, but why are we holding on to something that's for everyone? That's my parking space. Oh, you're sitting in my seat. This is my ends. So it's a sense of trying to see why. Because you get people that come up from North or whatever, what do you call it, Southampton or Colchester or whatever. And they come and they're not even from London. They're not even from London.
London is the message we need to share.
So they're bringing their habits, their cultures into, It's like, let's just get along and like, what's your name? Do you know what I mean?
think there's a big element of no one's perfect in here. Like both of them are the victim, but both of them are the active party as well. You know, they've got their own prejudices, they've got their own shit, and they're kind of both going, "This is mine," and it's not. And yeah, as Josh said, that's their problem, is that they're not willing to receive anything from anyone else. So, yeah.
So, we nearly finished the tour. We're in Redbridge on Wednesday, so if you want to tell people to come, there's still kind of London. Oh, sorry, yes.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to say, we talked about the message and everything, but it was a fantastic hour's entertainment as well.
Good.
You know.
Thank you. Hopefully.
I don't know about Redbridge.
So basically we still got like a couple of performances left on this tour, and also we have, because Odai's Theatre is a charity, and it started with the aim of opening communication between people from different cultures. So there's all that thing of migration is really important for us. But we are collecting feedback, collecting money, because that's what charities do. And we have some members of Odai's, Jana and Mariam there. There's also collecting video feedback, so it'd be really nice if you wanted to just say something to the camera. Mariam's gonna come down with it.
Yes,
And yeah, if you could just like maybe, no, but write it down. But if you can, it'd be really nice, because obviously otherwise people think that we just make it up, you know. There you go, video evidence. And yeah, I think, thank you so much.